God is writing a story, and everybody loves a good story. Every child loves the introduction to a good story of once upon a time. And God is writing a story in our city. God is writing a story about what He's done, what He's currently doing, and what He will one day do in Jesus Christ. But God is not only the author of the story, He's actually the main character in the story. In the beginning, in the creation narrative, what we have is God walking hand in hand with mankind in communion. And even after sin enters the world, God is so radically committed to His people. And in the Old Testament, despite the fact that the Israelites are so rebellious and can never keep the covenant, God is faithful to His people. And God is faithful to His story when He comes and He condescends and becomes a man in the person of Jesus Christ. God is radically committed to us. He's radically committed to entering into our stories of brokenness, of shame, and of hurt, and to enter in with His story of goodness, of grace, and mercy. Yet the story is not over. When Jesus died on the cross and redeemed us, He made us a family, and He gave us as a family a mission to make disciples to the ends of the earth. And Jesus right now is inviting us to make disciples in our city. That Las Cruces needs more Christ-centered, gospel-centered churches in our city. Our campus, New Mexico State University, has roughly 15,000 students, and only 2% of them know the gospel is true. Las Cruces is a city plagued by darkness, and the hope of the gospel story wants to invite us to find redemption and healing. God is calling us to live Coram Deo, which is a Latin phrase which means before the face of God. God is inviting all of our lives to be before His presence in such a way that the gospel is shaping every part of our life. There is not a single part of who I am that God does not want to use for the advancement of His kingdom. We want to gather as a church on Sunday morning to proclaim the victory of the resurrection of Jesus Christ. We want to sing His praises. We want to gather together under the preaching of the Word. But then we want to scatter into our neighborhoods, into our workplaces, into our friendships with the hope of the gospel. So not only do we want to gather together on Sunday morning, which is so vitally important for the health of the church, but we want to scatter as missionaries, as disciple makers in our city, so that every neighborhood might be saturated with the good news of Jesus Christ. I want you to imagine if a church was more focused on making disciples than making programs. What if success in Coram Deo was more defined by the number of people we sent as missionaries in our city rather than the number of seats and people we had in our building? What if success was measured by more of how many people we send who are living for the glory of Jesus as a disciple maker in our city rather than how many people are coming to our events and programs? So we are inviting you to join our team. We are inviting you to live your life Coram Deo, before His presence. We are inviting you to live your life as a missionary in our city so that the vision of Habakkuk 2:14 might come true, that the city of Las Cruces and the entire earth might be filled with the glory of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Man, we're inviting you to lay down your life for the sake of Jesus' mission, that the valley of Doña County might experience gospel saturation and that men and women far away might call on His name. We're inviting you to come be a part of what God is doing here at Coram Deo.